Warning. Do not watch on an empty stomach and make sure your fridge is well stocked. The next day, Allison took Noel into the forest to where the palanquin where Noel was still clueless about what was going on. What's this? What in the world is this? Allison explained promptly. Palanquin. What else? I'll supply you with palanquin. The only one in the empire you sell palanquin meat and attract more customers. Noel still couldn't believe it was real. What? How will you catch palanquin? Even the top hunters of Grake City find it difficult, but it's not hard for me at all. Just bribe Rurin with some meat. He thought to himself, then reassured Noel. You don't have to worry about that. Ment's mercenary troops have already had it once. Plus, we'll split the profits 50-50. I won't give it away for free. So I'll take half of the selling price. Noel immediately objected. What? You're doing too much work. You catch them and deliver them to us. Why only take half the money? But Allison wasn't much concerned about money. Half is fair enough. I can't supply in large quantities. So I won't take much. Instead, you should use it as bait to sell more of other meats and buy some new clothes for Miss Rain. And treat her better. Despite being furious at Allison's unreasonable ways, Noel had no choice but to agree. All right. I'll sell it to you. Don't change your mind, of course. Allison wouldn't change his mind. This was his newly devised plan to reduce the number of customers coming to his restaurant, but there was one problem. The palanquin would periodically change their habitat, and of course, Allison had already considered that with just a wave of his hand. He created a massive dome barrier enclosing the palanquin in the forest. Noel witnessed this scene with his mouth agape in astonishment. To create such a barrier is not simple at all. This isn't something you can do after just a few years of learning magic. Allison, who are you really? Allison just gestured for secrecy. Just a retired restaurant owner after the war. Like you, Mr. Noel, so please keep my use of magic a secret. That's how Allison's plan went off without a hitch. The next day, as planned, his restaurant was deserted with not a single customer in sight. This made Rurin wonder if this was indeed a sound business strategy and something to happy about. Allison's tears flowed like two streams, thinking that there would still be a few customers left. But it's okay. At least now they had time to build the dragon's lair. Hearing this, Rurin was very happy. Oh right, the lair. Hee hee. Will you live with me when we finish building the lair? Allison immediately refused. Of course, he would live here. He had worked hard to build up his restaurant. Rurin struggled after hearing this. What? Then I don't need it. Let's declare war on the Black Dragon clan right away. It seems that humanity's fate would not be good with the temperament of this lowly dragon. If it grows up a bit more, there might really be a war. So let's rely on our main character Allison. Allison then had to say that the dragon lair to be built would be nearby for Rurin to finally calm down and listen. And the location of the dragon lair was none other than the hill right below the restaurant. Since the restaurant was located on the outskirts of town, all the surrounding land belonged to Allison. Therefore, they could do whatever they wanted. However, they needed to reinforce the inside of the lair with magic, otherwise, the whole hill would collapse. Rurin was brimming with enthusiasm, ready to start digging the tunnel right away. But at that very moment, Allison decided to slip away. I've got to head back to the restaurant. Keep it up, okay? I mean, I can't leave the place for too long. Right? Allison said, his voice dripping with excuses. Rurin froze in place, stunned, unable to believe her comrade would abandon her just as things were getting started. But Allison lay down on the table, enjoying this rare moment of rest. Just then, someone entered the restaurant. Excuse me, is this the famous restaurant? Allison quickly stood up to greet them. Welcome. Famous I don't know, but this is definitely a restaurant. The guest continued. I heard that I could eat legendary palanquin meat here. Allison was immediately discouraged. I'm sorry, but we no longer sell palanquin meat. You should visit Noel's meat shop. But the guest still refused to leave. But can't I have something else? I want to eat anything. Allison asked the guest to wait and went into the kitchen to prepare food. From this person's dress, Allison could guess that he was like a nobleman's son in trouble. And because one should not discriminate against customers, he would serve as usual, then used magic for cooking. The only dish I can make that suits a child's taste is a hamburger because I make it often. For meat, he would use finely chopped wuka steak and shape it with some salt and fry it with butter and bread. Put the meat inside with vegetables and cover it with demi-glace garlic sauce. And finally an egg that I got when catching pelinque. Ellison thought about the recipe in his head while cooking. It had become a habit since he started learning to cook until now. Finally, a hamburger that could bribe even dragons was completed. Sparkling beauty, isn't it? Personally, I doesn't fancy American food much, but this hamburger looks truly delicious. I must make one tonight for dinner. Actually, making a hamburger isn't difficult. What matters is frying the meat and making sauce. But luckily in Vietnam we have hundreds of sauces that can be mixed together. It doesn't have to be demi-sauce. Explanation. Demi-sauce is a brown sauce made from bone broth. Espagnole sauce, herbs and dry sherry wine. Editor angrily comment, oh please. Last time you rallied everyone to my house for pho cooking and ended up hugging my PS all day long. Leaving me alone to cook for everyone. You know well enough that making delicious pho takes at least 8 hours. Right? Sorry folks. Let's get back to our story. Ignore that editor guy. The young man was amazed when he saw the dish. Amazing. Is this a sandwich? Ellison, not wanting to explain, said, they are similar. Just as the young man was about to take a bite, a man suddenly burst through the door. Young master, I've been looking for you everywhere. What are you doing in a place like this? What if you get food poisoning from eating food in such a place? Please come outside with me. Ellison couldn't stand his restaurant being slandered and spoke up. I've been patient, but you've gone too far. The man still refused to stop. Are you the owner of this restaurant? I don't know if you realize who you are preparing food for. But this is the son of the Lord, the Baron of Grake City. This is the heir of Baron Grake. But that didn't concern Ellison at all. I don't care whether it's a baron or a duke. The food I serve is for customers. Is there a problem? The two then argued back and forth, neither willing to give in. Derain, seeing this, hurriedly intervened. Please stop. I'm fine. Feeling guilty, he left a gold coin and then left. But this made Ellison feel even worse. It seems our Ellison is starting to feel something isn't right with this little lord. Could the compassion of the great mage, the strongest person in the world, be awakening? Perhaps we'll have to keep watching to find out. After a while, Rurin came back covered in mud and crying. It's Ellison's turn now. I say it's Ellison's turn. I had to do all the work. I can't do it anymore. My hand hurts so much. But Ellison had changed clothes and was ready to go out. Don't be like that. I'll dig tomorrow. More importantly, I need to go somewhere. Rurin was curious upon hearing this. Where are you going all of a sudden? I'm hungry. Ellison focused on the gold coin in his hand and said, I'll cook something for you when we return. I've taken the money, so I must do it. We have to go to the Lord's castle. At the Lord's castle, Derain was moping alone in his room when suddenly, a teleportation portal appeared. Stepping out were Ellison and Rurin. Greetings, young Baron Derain. Derain was so shocked he couldn't speak. But Ellison approached with a paper bag in hand. You forgot something. Haven't tried it yet, have you? I've reheated it, so take a bite. Is this an interworld delivery service? Wish I had that skill every time I needed to travel. Holding the hamburger made Derain drool. Despite his many questions, he decided to take a bite first and worry later. Is this guy really going to eat food from a suspicious teleporting stranger in his room? His brain must be on vacation. Just then, there was a knock on the door. Young master, I heard noise from your room. Is everything all right? Ellison's face was the epitome of boredom. He thinks, are you kidding? Let the kid eat his burger. You nuisance. Derain trembled and looked at Ellison for help. What now? Ellison reminded him. What do you mean, what now? Just tell him everything's fine. You're the heir to the lordship and a baron. They can't disobey you, so chin up. Derain looked down gloomily. But they've never listened to me before. They always ignore me. With no response, the knocking grew more insistent. Young master, I'm coming in if you don't answer. Unable to take it anymore, Rurin used magic to change her voice and shouted. Nothing's wrong. Go away. I didn't order you to come in. Diren was amazed at the voice that sounded just like his own but still worriedly looked at the door since no one ever listened to him. The knocking stopped. A few seconds later came the reply. Understood. Sir. Please call if you need anything. As Diren stood there with his mouth agape in astonishment, Ellison said, See? Told you so. You've got to assert yourself. Diren immediately knelt on the ground. Master, please become my mentor. Ellison was clueless about what was happening and looked completely stunned. This kid is surprisingly smart. He immediately recognized the quality of this person and knelt down to ask to be his disciple. This kid definitely has a bright future. He's not afraid of embarrassment or his noble status to kneel before someone else. This is going to cause trouble for our main character. Then Diren shared his past. My mother died after giving birth to me. My father remarried soon after. So I spent most of my time with my stepmother. My stepmother was quite strict. She told me to be careful with my actions because I am the son of the Lord. Despite that, I still loved her because it was also the happiest time for me. However, everything changed since my father became seriously ill and bedridden. She no longer looked at me or spoke directly to me during meals or parties. I want to become a good lord like my father. But the servants tried to control and restrict my activities on the orders of my stepmother. I had no one to talk to. Everyone ignored me since then. I feel that I will not be treated any better even after I inherit the lordship. But my thoughts changed after today's incident. Master, please teach me how to become a good lord. Diren's eyes sparkled with fierce hope. But Ellison bluntly replied, That conclusion is a bit odd. Isn't it? How did things turn out this way? I'm just a restaurant owner. Diren explained his reason. But this has never happened before. He would still come in even if I told him to leave. Ellison realized the problem. He lacked confidence. It seems he deliberately threw away his dynamism and became more introverted. Ellison sighed and said, Look into people's eyes when you talk to them. You said you want to be a good lord. Right? The position of a lord also comes with responsibility. So, you must take responsibility for every word you utter. I'm not telling you to ignore others' words. Make sure you have listened and thought carefully before making a decision that you fully trust in. If it's beneficial, then all will be well. If not, accept it and take responsibility. In my opinion, that's what makes a good lord. These words seemed to awaken something inside Diren. But before he could fully understand, Ellison was ready to leave. Anyway, eat this burger before it gets cold. And drop by the restaurant sometime. Afterward, Diren kept thinking about what was said earlier. Just as he took a bite of the hamburger, he suddenly realized, could it be? I get it. A good lord must be someone who ensures that all people can enjoy delicious food like this. It seems this young man misunderstood the earlier issue into something quite off. On the other side of town, Ellison and Rurin had teleported outside the city walls. To prevent Rurin from getting any wild ideas, Ellison carefully advised, I hope you won't take what he said too seriously. Rurin then asked, You mean that kid? But why do you bother so much and talk like that? You seem really concerned. Ellison then pulled out the gold coin he was paid earlier. I'm just doing the job I was paid for. Holding the gold coin in her hand, Rurin couldn't help but be surprised. This is 100,000 runs. A regular hamburger is sold for 200 runs. Did he really pay you this much just for a hamburger? Ellison replied, Exactly. That's why we need to provide him with proper service for that price. This isn't a discount diner. You know, he's as rich as a dragon. I hope from now on, he'll become a regular at our restaurant. But Rurin wasn't happy about that at all. I'm not thrilled because it means fewer hamburgers for me to eat. Typical of a gluttonous dragon. Putting the restaurant aside, let's visit the locals and scenery where Ella lives. In a forest on the outskirts of Grake City, there's a peculiar clinic that's quite famous around here. The doctor there must be skilled and has even learned healing magic. But that's not what makes it famous. The biggest reason patients trek to this remote place far from town is because the clinic owner is an elf, not human. And more importantly, she's drop-dead gorgeous. Elena, the clinic owner, is currently confiding in Rain about considering going back to her homeland. I'm thinking about whether I should return to my homeland or not. I love helping and healing people so much that I left my village despite everyone's objections. But reality is quite different from what I imagined. No one cares about the healing. They just want to meet an elf female at any cost and don't see me as a doctor. Recently, a woman came here and got angry with me. She said I seduced her husband. I know not all humans are like that, and it's not that I hate healing others. But it's really hard to keep everything inside and continue working. After listening, Rain asked, "By the way, you don't like me either?" Elena quickly explained. "What? No. I like you, Rain. Besides, you've always treated me well. And that's why I accept this without any prejudice." Rain then asked further, "So if there were more things here that you liked, would you stay?" "There are many things I don't like about my husband. His snoring when he sleeps. Plus he's quite clueless. But there are things I like more. I like his reliability, how he only has eyes for me, and always does his best in everything he does." "You said you still love healing people, right? Then try having dinner at the restaurant next to the hillside tonight. The reasons for you to love this place might just increase bit by bit. And Ellison's restaurant could be one such place." On the flip side, Ellison was caught red-handed by Noel while digging a hole with a pickaxe. "Hey, Ellison, what are you up to here?" "I was just about to head to the restaurant." Ellison greeted him back with a smile. "I'm on my way there too. Just got caught up in some construction work." "And who might this be?" As introduced by Noel, this was Nellin, his grandson. They had matters to discuss, so they decided to talk over a meal at the restaurant. At that moment, Noel mentioned that his wife and an elf would be visiting the restaurant. Hearing this, Ellison immediately shouldered his pickaxe and headed back to the restaurant. On the way, he asked Noel, "Usually, elves don't leave their home forests. That person must be quite famous, right?" This topic seemed to irk Noel. "You don't need to ask me, apparently. All the boys in town have been flocking there even if it's just for a splinter in their finger. It's despicable, really. Hearing such things makes me understand why elves despise humans so much." Ellison responded, "Not all elves are like that. You shouldn't stereotype them. I do acknowledge that elves are a very proud race." But before Ellison could retract his statement, he witnessed an astonishing scene. Elena, a noble elf, was kneeling down trembling in fear before Rurin. You are a great being. Please forgive my rudeness." Rurin radiated a menacing aura. "So you realize your rudeness? I'll overlook it if you spend the rest of your life as my servant." Ellison was agape with shock at this scene. Rurin boasted upon seeing Ellison return. "Oh, you're back? I've just acquired a useful elf servant for myself." At this moment, Ellison's hands clenched tightly, engulfed by flames of anger. "What are you doing with our customer?" "Huh?" Rewinding a few minutes earlier, when Rurin was lounging on the table and Elena pushed the door open. "Is anyone here? Is this Ellison's restaurant?" Rurin stood up to greet her. "Yes, it is. But he's not here right now. More importantly, you're an elf?" Once again being noticed for her race. Elena bowed her head to the ground. "Yes, that's right." Rurin then approached. "The elf race is very beautiful. Indeed, it's no exaggeration." Elena awkwardly replied. "Oh, you are beautiful too. And you look much younger than me." Rurin gave a dangerous smile. "Younger? Are you saying I look young? I may be young compared to my race, but I'm still much older than you. Who allowed you to speak so casually to me?" A terrifying aura was immediately released, causing Elena to kneel trembling on the ground. And this was the scene that Ellison witnessed just now. And of course, our main character immediately took action. After handling the situation, Ellison cheerfully opened the door for customers. "Sorry for the noise. Please come in." After getting a bump on her head, Rurin cried tragically. Elena, witnessing this scene, was wide-eyed in astonishment. "Am I dreaming? Is she really a dragon?" One thing that everyone from children to the elderly knows is never to anger a dragon. Dragons are walking natural disasters that can whimsically burn down entire villages. They are the strongest race, the pinnacle of all species. I've heard legends about dragons since I was a child, so much so that I'm sick of them. However, he is treating that dragon like a child. Who really is he? While Elena was still bewildered, Allison approached. I apologize on her behalf for what happened earlier. I really didn't expect such a thing to happen while I was away. Elena, still frightened, asked again. Are you really human? Allison was a bit surprised by the question but then realized that Rurin had revealed her dragon identity. With no other choice, Allison whispered to Elena, yes, I am human, and that girl is a dragon. As you already know, living with a dragon is quite strange. But it's hard to explain. Can you keep a secret? Elena trembled with fear. Of course, I have no intention of disturbing a dragon. I don't want to die yet. Allison didn't know what else to say other than reassuring her that she wouldn't be killed here. It seems like Rurin has left an extremely bad first impression. At this point, Allison asked, speaking of which, are you Dr. Elena that Noel referred here? Elena with a haggard face replied. Ah yes, it's me. I am Elena. Allison grimaced upon hearing that. You can imagine a half-star review about the restaurant like in the modern world. I came here on a friend's recommendation, but ended up being captured as a subordinate. Oppressed unbelievably. Such a terrible first impression indeed. If this were Earth, this place would have been shut down by the online community already. Elena continued, I've heard that you can eat very delicious dishes here even if they are only made from vegetables. When it comes to food, Allison is extremely professional. Yes, that's possible. Do you have any allergies? Elena explained. Not for humanitarian reasons, but my body can't digest meat. So as long as I don't eat meat, I'm fine. Allison thought for a moment and then started preparing food in the kitchen. The cooking show begins. Today's topic will be nutritious vegetarian dishes. There are many delicious dishes that don't need meat, but I think pasta is one of the best. Add thinly sliced onions, garlic, and mushrooms to a pan with hot olive oil and sauté. This way, different flavors will combine to create a harmonious taste. Next, strain crushed tomatoes through a sieve and add to the pan. Season with salt, sugar, and other spices. Then reduce the heat and watch so the sauce doesn't burn. While waiting for the sauce to thicken, boil pasta for 8 minutes. Additional explanation. Pasta comes in many numbers. Each number will have different boiling times. Please pay attention to the packaging. Remember to save some pasta water. Finally, mix the pasta with the sauce and add some pasta water to help thin the sauce. And the pasta dish is complete. Afterward, Allison served the dish to Elena. Please eat this with a fork. I didn't add any meat so you don't have to worry. Just seeing the dish made Elena want to eat it immediately. She picked up a fork and carefully enjoyed this delicious pasta dish. Meanwhile, Allison continued serving Wuba meat to his nephew Noel but noticed that Nellin seemed unhappy. Could it be that he doesn't like this dish? When he turned to look at Elena, Allison almost couldn't believe his eyes. The noble elf image had completely disappeared, replaced by a gluttonous girl enjoying her meal. Elena happily thought to herself. Delicious. Until now I've only been eating raw vegetables. I never knew there could be such delicious food. Elena needed only a few bites to quickly finish off the plate of pasta. At that moment, Allison approached her side, startling her. It seems that you really enjoy pasta? Elena hastily covered her face in embarrassment. I'm sorry, it was so delicious that I couldn't help myself. Allison gave a friendly smile and handed her a handkerchief. Don't worry about it, I'm glad you like it. Elena blushed and replied, yes, I attract quite the stares in town. So I usually just munch on veggies I snag from the market. It's not like I haven't thought about chowing down at a restaurant. But they don't have much of a menu for us herbivores. And even if they did, the food is pretty much like eating raw veggies. So I wondered if cooking was really necessary. Allison totally got Elena's vibe. Everyone here doesn't spice things up much. So everything tastes like Blandsville. At this point, Elena got all jazzed up. But my mind did a 180 after coming here. That dish earlier was seriously delish. Big thanks to Miss Rain. Allison finally dared to breathe a sigh of relief. Thrilled to hear that. Just then, Noel suddenly stood up and bellowed. What's that? What did you just say? Nellin piped up again. I just realized that Mom and I don't share any blood ties in. Where'd you hear that? Nellin slammed the table and shouted. That's not important right now. I've been duped. I can't focus on work. That's why I left the mines early, I couldn't just go home. Elena and Ellison were all ears to the drama and didn't dare make a peep. It seems that no matter the world, eavesdropping is an essential skill. Don't you know what Miss May went through to raise you? She worked day and night just to take care of you. Even though your dad sacrificed himself as a mercenary. Don't you think it's noble of her to raise a kid that's not her own flesh and blood? Aren't you smart enough to figure that out on your own? Nellen's face turned dark as he stammered. I know that. I know I'm at fault. But this morning I was too hot-headed and angry. So I refused the lunch Mom prepared and called her an old hag. At this point, Noel grabbed Nellen by the collar in rage. What? There are things you can say. And things you absolutely cannot. You blockhead. Things were spiraling out of control and Ellison had to step in. 1 hour before Noel and Nellen arrived at the restaurant. Nellen's mom was so worried she brought food deep into the mines for her son. But she had no clue Nellen wasn't even there. And right then, Rain burst through the door in a panic and screamed, Nellen. It's a disaster. Hurry up and follow me to the mines. The mine collapsed where your mom is right now. She's trapped inside. Noel was so agitated that he shouted. What do you mean the mine collapsed? And what happened to Miss May? After the recount, I'm not sure anymore, but it seems she went inside to look for Nellen, and then... Nellen couldn't keep his cool and dashed towards the mine alone. Ellison and Elena also wanted to join, hoping to be of some help. At the mine, everyone was trying to calm down an agitated Nellen, who now just wanted to dive into the rubble to save his mother. Calm down, Nellen. It's dangerous. It could collapse again, they pleaded. Ellison and Elena arrived shortly after. Please stay calm, we will go inside and save Nellen's mother. Ellison explained. This girl is a healer with healing magic. There are many injured people inside the mine. You guys are wasting time saving people. Finally, after some explaining, they were allowed to proceed inside. On their way, Elena spoke up to Ellison. I appreciate your help, but you didn't have to follow me in here, it's dangerous. Just then, the mine shook and countless rocks fell. But luckily they were all blocked by Ellison's magic shield. You see, I'm quite adept at magic, I'll block any rocks that dare attack you. Ellison said. Elena was amazed. So you're a wizard? Ellison continued as they moved deeper into the mine. I was quite successful in my youth. But now I've hung up my sword. But I'm curious why you decided to come here. Elle continued. I heard you own a clinic in the city. Because one of my friends is also an elf. I don't think you own that clinic just because you're an elf. And surely humans haven't always treated you well. Yet you decided to go into a collapsed mine to save people. Is there a special reason why you did that? Right at that moment, as Elena was about to respond, they reached a fork in the road. Oh no, the path splits. We don't have time to search both ways. Ellison closed his eyes and began chanting a spell. After summoning spirits and illuminating the entire space, they found the injured worker. Seeing the moving lights, the worker exclaimed in panic. What's this? I must be on my way to heaven. I'm starting to hallucinate. Just then, Ellison and Elena appeared, and the worker exclaimed with relief. Are you the rescue team? The spirits then split up and went down both paths. And in just a moment, they had found another injured person. And so, the rescue team was operating at full capacity. Ellison took on the role of protection and moving rocks with magic, while Elena focused on using healing magic to save the workers. After first aid was administered, Ellison also transported the injured out using magic. After a while, all the workers had been rescued, except for Nellen's mother who had not yet been found. The two continued deeper into the mine and discovered Mrs. May lying unconscious on the ground. Elena immediately approached and assessed the situation. She is seriously injured. I will use stronger healing magic on her. But I cannot guarantee the outcome. Elena placed her hand in front of her chest and began to chant. A gentle blue light immediately enveloped everything. Rain, unable to do anything at the moment, cried incessantly. Noel stood by also only knowing how to comfort her. Elena said that magic will work. So don't worry too much. She will definitely wake up. Nellen then opened up the basket next to his mother. It was the breakfast that his mother had painstakingly prepared, but he had harshly rejected with unpleasant words. Now it was too late for regrets. At that moment, Mrs. May's arm suddenly moved. "Nellen, is that you?" Mother. Nellen choked up. "I'm so scared. What if the words I said to you this morning end up being my last words to you?" Mrs. May heard this and shed tears. "You called me mother again. I'm sorry for making you worry. It's also very fortunate that you weren't inside the mine." Witnessing this scene, Elena couldn't help but be moved. She approached Ellison and said, "As you said, actually I wanted to close my clinic and return to my homeland already. I was very disappointed in humanity after witnessing the terrible things that happened to me here. But then Miss Rain said this to me. Try to increase what you like here. Perhaps I rushed over here to look for that. The lifespan of humans is shorter than that of elves. But they can freely express their emotions. That's why people are easily disappointed and hurt. I've felt that way before. But ironically, that's also why I opened my clinic. I think there are many things here that I like which make it impossible for me to leave. I like the genuine emotions of humans. And now I know that the food here is very delicious. Today, I've realized many things." Before she could finish speaking, Elena nearly fainted from exhaustion. But fortunately Ellison was there in time to support her. The atmosphere suddenly became awkward. That's right. If that female dragon saw this scene, the elf wouldn't get away with just kneeling. Then, Ellison began to transmit magical power through his hand. Elena felt the magic power flowing into her and was extremely astonished. Isn't this the magic power transmission of the elf tribe? Ellison quickly let go of her hand and explained. The friend I mentioned taught me this magic. His name is Beeden. As soon as she heard this name, Elena exclaimed in shock. Beeden? The hero of the elf tribe. Beeden? How did you? Ellison simply explained that he was once a renowned wizard. Meanwhile, on the hill below the restaurant, Rurin was still digging a hole by herself. That damn L. He always leaves me alone. How can he tell me to dig because I'm not allowed to use magic in front of others? It's not fair. I just want to recruit a subordinate to help with the restaurant. Just then, a stream of water suddenly burst forth, soaking Rurin completely. Scene change. At this moment Ellison is questioning. You say that water naturally sprang up from the ground? And you want to know where it came from and dug until you ended up like this? Rurin, covered in mud, defiantly proud. Exactly. Ellison did not get angry but held back. Don't get mad. She didn't mean to drive me crazy. Looking at the battlefield Rain made on the ground. It seems that Rurin tried to continue digging but found nothing. Perhaps she hit a water vein. She dug quite deep. But even using magic, seeing it from here is impossible. Do you remember what we talked about before? We need to cover the ceiling of the hole with a barrier. Of course. Rurin remembered that. Otherwise this hole would have collapsed long ago. Ellison then emitted a huge amount of magical power and created a magic circle. Rurin at this moment reminded him on the side. Remember to control your power. Otherwise you'll blow away the whole hill. The magic Ellison used was level 8 magic. In just a blink of an eye, the hole had been dug much deeper. Rurin also did not forget her task. With just one stomp of her foot, she erected a barrier that helped protect the ceiling from collapsing. And so Rurin's dragon cave was completed. Just at that moment, the ground cracked open and a jet of water burst forth from the earth. Edison observed carefully. The magical power hit an underground water vein. So water gushed out. This must be hot mineral water. But Rurin didn't think twice and rushed forward intending to bathe. Ellison immediately shouted a warning that it was hot water. But it was already too late. Rurin was enveloped by the hot stream and let out a loud scream. After which she had to take off her soaking wet clothes and warm up. Listen here, you can't just rush into things like that, Ellison reminded her, while conjuring a spherical magical barrier. By pressing the barrier into the ground, the earth would settle down and form a clean water reservoir. Then, by removing the top part of the barrier, a hot spring is created. Ellison then unceremoniously tossed Rurin into the water. Rurin screamed in terror as she fell in. It's hot. I'm going to be boiled alive. But then she realized the water was just warm. Of course, because Ellison had cooled it down beforehand. Afterward, he took off his outer clothes and joined Rurin in the water. Rurin hesitated for a moment before asking. I saw you disappear somewhere. Where did you go? Ellison replied that there was a mine collapse. So he went there to rescue people. But Rurin was only concerned about weather. Did you go with that elf girl or what? Ellison hurriedly explained. Of course I needed her. You know I'm not very good at healing magic. Right? But Rurin pouted and turned away. No wonder you looked so happy. I had to dig this hole while you know I hate elves. And all other races too. Except for you. The little girl seems jealous seeing our main guy hanging out with another girl. Then, Ellison carefully prepared a hot cocoa and handed it to Rurin, who despite being sulky, couldn't resist and took the cocoa cup and drank it deliciously. Seeing the atmosphere soften, Ellison prepared himself a cup while saying, cocoa powder is made from cocoa beans. This simple-looking powder actually requires many steps like planting, fermenting, drying, roasting, grinding finely, and many more to make it. Many people have worked hard so we can enjoy it. I have enough power to blow up a mine, but still lack the ability to heal the injured. Even finding simple ingredients for the restaurant without Mr. Knoll's help is impossible. Even if I use magic to create a space here, it can't be done without the help of the dwarf tribe in building the dragon cave. People may differ in race, abilities, and personalities, but that doesn't mean we should shun them. Even if one were a dragon, they couldn't handle everything alone. Rurin understood some of this. I get it now. But I will still treat you differently than them. You are special. And so they enjoyed the hot spring together all night long. They just bathed in hot water. Don't get any funny ideas. Meanwhile, at another location, Ment's group of mercenaries encountered trouble on their escort mission. They were surrounded by a group of people and pushed towards a cliff. Despite their best efforts to break through, Ment was sent plummeting down the cliff by a treacherous bandit. The next day at ELL's restaurant. Today, Ellison had put up a closed sign to focus on other tasks. When Rurin asked why, he explained, we had hot cocoa yesterday. Sadly, we ran out of milk. So I'm going to build a farm so we'll always have a supply. But every castle starts with bricks. And to have a farm, you need livestock to graze. And what Ellison needs now are the Baranuric from downstream of the Varant River. When Ellison told Rurin to teleport downstream of the Varant River, she was confused. You don't understand. I can't teleport to a place I've never been. The last time, I teleported us to the Lord's castle by following the scent of that kid. But Ellison remained insistent. I'll tell you the location and distance. So just trust your instincts. Reluctantly, Rurin agreed, and they teleported to the lower Varant River. From there, Ellison could clearly see a herd of Baranuric nearby. But they were both free falling from above. In that moment, they still found time to argue. You're a dragon. Why are you afraid of falling? Don't you have wings? Ellison teased. Rurin clung tightly to Ellison's neck and shouted. I'm not transforming into my dragon form. I'd rather die. For some reason, Rurin refused to transform into her dragon form. And Ellison didn't dare ask why. Fortunately, thanks to Ellison's magic, they landed safely. Upon touching down, Rurin was awestruck by the vastness of the river. When Ellison explained that it was the sea, Rurin blushed a little. I've never seen the sea before since I was born, she admitted. A little embarrassed. Seeing her reaction, Ellison decided to make a plan for a beach day, which Rurin was ecstatic about. The task for the day was simple. Both of them needed to catch around 10 Baranuric. The one who caught fewer would have to cook for the day. Back at the restaurant, 3 people were hanging around outside the door as if they hadn't eaten in days. It seemed Ellison's loyal fans couldn't survive without his food. While waiting, the 3 got to know each other. Ellison had no idea what was going on and was having too much fun with Rurin to notice until he returned. Thanks to the Dragon Clan's mind control magic, the Baranuric were now obediently staying in the pen. The fragile fence Ellison built should hold, and he planned to construct a proper sleeping area for them soon. But for now, his focus shifted back to reopening the restaurant. Ellison was shocked when he saw the 3 hungry people loitering outside. Thankfully, he had returned just in time to avoid a disaster. The trio was soon treated to their favorite dishes. One of them asked jokingly, honestly, what would you have done if I hadn't come back today? Just waited outside like that? Another replied casually, I guess you would have had to dig 3 graves next to the restaurant. Cause of death. Starvation. Allison couldn't help but laugh. But there were truly no words for this situation. Meanwhile, Rurin was stuck washing a mountain of dishes since she lost the bet to Allison. While she worked, one of the 3 people asked, So, how are you going to manage the Baron Uruk? Aren't you short on staff? Allison thought for a moment before answering. I'm planning to hire some employees. The pasture needs careful tending. So I can't just hire anyone. I'll need to set up some recruitment tests. Noel, ever the schemer, had an idea. Are you planning interviews? Don't worry about it. Don't elves have the ability to see through people's hearts? The boss here needs to know who's good and who's bad. I've met plenty of people when I was a mercenary. We bothered you on your day off. So let us help you out. We'll conduct the interviews and pick the most talented employees for you. Leave it to us. And so, the next day, the interview process for the pasture positions began. Word spread quickly, and many applicants showed up. The judges this time were none other than Noel, Elena, and Diren. The first applicant opened the door, only to be immediately rejected. A young man with no enthusiasm. How could someone like you manage the Baron Uruk? Noel grumbled. The next applicant was a handsome young man who seemed enthusiastic, which pleased Noel, but as Elena peered into his heart, she immediately rejected him. His thoughts were full of indecent ideas about her. The next applicant was a middle-aged man with a pipe in his mouth. I have 35 years of experience. And I'll make this the best pasture in Grake, he declared confidently. This time, it was Diren's turn to ask the questions. So, what do you think about the comfort of the Baron Uruk? The man was completely baffled by the question. But before he could respond, Diren unfurled a scroll filled with detailed writing. What plans have you made for the Baron Uruk's sleeping arrangements and activities? If someone has ill intentions toward them, how will you handle it? What about the milk supply? Have you prepared a plan to compete with others? I'm also curious about how you'll manage any sick or injured animals. Will you write health reports for the Baron Uruk to ensure they're healthy? This is more than just a pasture. I'm a baron who cares about both the Baron Uruk and my people. Don't underestimate them. The man couldn't take it anymore and stood up, muttering, What a crazy guy, before storming out. Diren, undeterred, shouted after him, Where are you going? You have to protect the people. People like you don't care if the Baron Uruk are sad or not. Allison watched the scene in stunned silence, feeling a sense of unease. The interviews continued, but the further they went, the more ridiculous and unreasonable the trio's rejection criteria became. Some applicants were dismissed without even having a chance to speak. At this point, Allison was near tears, helplessly watching the chaos unfold. Enthusiasm mixed with ignorance had turned into total disaster. After a while, there were no more applicants left. Are there really no more applicants? Is the salary too low on the notice? Noel chuckled, still unaware that the trio's antics were the reason everyone had fled. With no other option, Allison stepped in. Sorry, I really appreciate what you've done. But let me handle the next interview. At that moment, the door opened, and Miltine walked in. I saw the recruitment notice. Can I work here? Noel was shocked. Miltine? What are you doing here? Aren't you on an escort mission? Miltine explained. We were attacked by bandits. And the senior fell off a cliff while trying to help me. Noel's face turned pale. That idiot. Meant. Why didn't he tell me about this? How's he doing? Miltine's expression darkened. He's injured all over, but he can only move one leg. He had to retire from being a mercenary. Even though Elena really wanted to help, too much time had passed. And she couldn't do anything. All she could do was examine him and check on his condition. Rurin, overhearing, interjected. But why are you the one looking for a job when Ment is the one who's injured? Allison immediately scolded her. Mind your words. She's already under a lot of stress. And you're complaining. But Rurin, still curious, pressed on. Aren't you curious? It seems she's also quit being a mercenary. It's strange that she's with Ment and is now applying to work here. Miltine shyly explained. I just want to find a suitable job for Mr. Ment so we can work together. She blushed as she spoke. Everyone could immediately understand the situation. Noel couldn't believe it and asked, "Wait, how old are you?" When Miltine said she was 29, Noel exclaimed, "You're 13 years apart." Miltine wasn't bothered. "I only see age as a number.